Now, welcome to the stage to make our next presentation, the president and founder of Six Shooter Records, Shauna DeCartier.
Hello, everybody. It is my honor to speak to you today about one of the greatest contributors to the Canadian music industry, Mair. I have only known Al for a little more than a decade, but it is evident that the spirit and charisma of this man has always been informed by a singular passion for music. I can just imagine Al as a youth, running high school dances and being a DJ, to music that couldn't be heard on the radio, or driving around in his 1964 Pontiac Acadian convertible with red leatherette upholstery and a record player, which he used to play the latest 45s to friends and colleagues. Mair was one of Canada's original tastemakers. He was able to parlay his passion for music into an incredible, iconic journey spanning 5 decades. And what a career it has been. Starting out at Capitol Records in the early 60s, then managing Gordon Lightfoot for a decade before starting Attic Records in 1976. And with 114 gold, platinum, and multi-platinum records in the US, UK, Canada, Holland, and Japan, Al built Attic Records to be one of, if not the most successful independent Canadian record labels of all time. Not only was he one of the first champions of Canadian artists at home and around the world, he was also a stalwart champion of the Canadian music industry, spreading the idea that Canada is a viable, standalone market and not just an add-on territory to a US deal. On an industry level, Al was central to the creation of our institutions and infrastructure that has developed our domestic industry. He played an instrumental role in the creation of SERPA, which is now SEMA, also with SOCAN and the CMRRA. He was also instrumental in helping to introduce CanCon with the CRTC. The dauntless courage and clarity of vision Al brought to the table during these important formative years has helped foster a domestic industry that continues to flourish to this day. We all owe a great debt to Al. Far beyond the heyday and eventual successful sale of Attic Records, Al continues his legacy of celebration and stewardship of the Canadian industry, including playing a mentorship role with young companies and executives such as myself. Congratulations, Mair, on this much-deserved induction into the CMW Music Hall of Fame. Let's take a look at what others have had to say about Al.
He was a visionary and a trailblazer. So when we came to work every day, we knew that whatever we were going to do was actually going to make a difference. It was going to make an impact. Somebody was going to have a hit.
Al's knowledge was like publishing.
Yes.
And that was his background. And so he was a kind of a song guy, and I think he had an instinct for finding songs and recordings that other people might have passed on or not seen the value in. So like that Katrina and the Waves tune that he said, oh no, that's a hit.
And I'm walking on sunshine.
Look what he did for Canadian music. I mean, you've got people from Lee Aaron,
What should I do to my body?
Patsy Gallant, Gatto, Flood, the Nylons, Teenage Head. All different kinds of musical genres, yet he made them work.
The Irish Rovers and Hey Good Hardy and Triumph.
He dedicated a lot of his time to making this a better music industry for Canadian musicians in particular.
Attic Records was the pace setter, and their acts were definitive of where we went as a nation in terms of our music.
Al is a music man from the bottom of his heart. It's his passion, and business and deals, he's the king of it.
He was involved very early in some of the developments that helped
Canadian independent music become what it is today, especially some of the public funding efforts that went on in the 80s and the 90s.
Are you ready for the drop? Then drop it.
I've been with Roy Thompson and MHL for 22 years, and Al predates me as a volunteer at our halls for over 8 years prior to that.
Al was closely involved, as so many of us were, in the many efforts at copyright reform, always trying to get a better deal for Canadian artists and songwriters. He saw the impact of some of the changes and challenges that we would face throughout the 90s as technology crashed in upon us.
He puts Canada first on an international scale, and he's made a difference at a positive, formative time of the Canadian music industry.
There he is, 1987 Factor Board of Directors. He had hair, and he had...
Hi, Al. Just wanted to say that it's been a pleasure knowing you probably most of my life, and doing business with you, and Attic Records, and all the great times we had, and the Blues Brothers things that you did, and best of luck.
Hey, Al, congrats.
Honest to God, I thought you were already in it.
I hardly think this marks the end of the story.
Al, thanks for the passion.
I hope you have many more years in the industry.
Nobody deserves it more than you.
Everybody, please welcome Al Mair.
Thank you a lot. My son Sebastian said I'm supposed to start with a joke. That's the way he was taught by the Canadian government. I don't do jokes, so please excuse that. I want to thank all the staff and the artists that we worked with at Attic over 27 years of fun. We had a little reunion last night of our own, and it was just great. I also want to recognize the people who helped us get established and get rolling. You may have seen in the pictures of my first partner, or former partner, Tom Williams. For any of you who are old enough to remember Tom, he is here. He's sitting down here. He'd be glad to see you. He may not recognize you, or vice versa, but please say hello to Tom. I also should acknowledge the people who helped Attic get going. Les Weinstein and the Irish Rovers were shareholders from day one. I have to thank Alan Slate. Alan put us in touch with the venture capital company who came up with the money to do it. Thank you, Alan. I hope your health is good. I also want to thank the Music Managers Forum for naming their annual award, the Brian Chater Award. No one deserved to be honored more than Brian did for what he did for the Canadian industry. Finally, a number of people over the years have asked me why I'm such a raving nationalist. I went to the New York World's Fair in 1962 in New York City, and it was great. I was very, very impressed. In 1967, I went to Expo with a young guy from St. Thomas by the name of Paul Ski. We spent a week at Expo, and what Expo did compared to the New York World's Fair was night and day. We blew them out of the water, and that was the point when I realized that Canadian talent was not just equal, but better than anything else from south of the border, and committed my life to breaking those artists. I want to congratulate Paul Ski, one of the other honorees tonight. And thank you all for coming. It's been a great ride.